after them. Now, godliness with contentment is what? Great, not just gain, is great gain. Why don't we teach contentment in the church? The view that we see of the church is to keep asking for one thing or the other. That is what we do when we gather in church. People are sad if they go to church and they need us to pray for one thing or the other that they want. That's why when people say they are going for a night vigil, they are excited when the pastor says, I want you to pray that all your enemies will fall and die. The whole roof will tear off. They say, yes, they are praying. It's a demon you are praying to, not God. Can the God who says to you that if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him to drink. You think that God will answer the prayer that you are praying that an enemy should fall down and die? You are praying to Satan, not God. I make bold to make that statement. You don't know that there's covetousness in your life. I think I've said it before here, best repetition. Of a young boy who went to school, went to sit for an exam. He didn't read for the exam. Wrote rubbish in the exam hall. Then goes for a night vigil and sends a prayer request to the altar, asking the pastor to ask the church to pray that everything he wrote, which is not right, that God should make it right so that he will get an A in the exam. Where do these people come from? And you better believe it, the pastor actually read it and they prayed. Is it God we are talking about? I don't think we know this God we are talking about. Or his view of the church. The church is the representative of God on the earth. If God is holy, the church is holy. Do you know that? Since God is humble, the church is supposed to be humble. Since God is righteous, the church ought to be righteous. We see iniquity in the land. Christians are the first to support such iniquity in the name of rule of law. They would not see righteousness. And these are the people that the Bible says they will judge the earth. How can these ones judge? Who do not see unrighteousness in iniquitous behavior, but are supportive of it. Verse 7. This is a reality that we must all learn. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out, and that's the truth. Scripturally correct, practically correct, experimentally correct. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be what? We shall be what? We shall be what? I didn't see house or anything there. Or car. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Many people who are running after things, they fall into temptation. Because that's how we are tempted, by the lusts in our hearts. We are tempted. We are drawn away. Many, they've wrecked their faith. In verse 10 it says, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. A man of God said once, the Bible says the love of money is the root of evil, not money. And then he spent the next 30-45 minutes preaching about money and telling them to chase after it. Are you telling me that man doesn't have the love for money? Many people say, oh, Jesus preached a lot about money. I said, what did he say about money? Don't tell me that he preached about money. What was it he said about money? Did he ask you to acquire it? We focus on these things. And this is the problem of the church. Today's church, the view of today's church is based on the world, not on God. Men are rewriting the Bible in books. And the books look very beautiful and exciting. And they sell it to us and we are buying it. And they have big names. Many of them are in America. And Nigeria is becoming a strong competitor now with America in raising these thieving, covetous preachers with big names. Any little thing that touches them, they want to raise a ruckus in society so that they can fight for them. I heard that there was a bishop in this nation whose aircrafts were parked at the airport for free. No wonder he acquired 5. For free, he was parking aircrafts. Until a sane government came and they started charging him, then he became enemies with the government. And now he's campaigning to unseat that government because he doesn't want to pay to park his aircraft at the airport, which ordinary people pay. When you buy your air ticket, you are paying for that aircraft that is parked at the tarmac. But he wants to live in abject luxury and say that God gave. Did God make you a lawless man? What view do we have of the church of God, by the way? Do we think that our view of the church is God's view of the church?